Example 2 says solve 2 square root of x equals x minus 8. What's going on there? We have a square root, right? And so we've got to get rid of the square root. So what are we going to do?
Square.
Okay, I can square it as it's written only, even though there's a 2 in front of the square root, because it's being multiplied. If there was a plus sign or a minus sign, that wouldn't work for us, okay? But I know y'all hate fractions, so I'm going to try to avoid it for you. So let's go ahead and square both sides. So remember, on the left there, then that means we have 2 square root of x times itself, right? And on the right, that means we have x minus 8 times itself. So on the left side there, the 2 square root of x times the 2 square root of x. Remember, you multiply what's on the outside together. You multiply what's on the inside together, right?
4.
So, yeah, 2 times 2 is
4.
And then x times x is, and I'm going to keep going on this side. What is the square root of x squared? So this is just 4x, right? We're okay? All right, so now let's work on the right side. What are we going to do there? We're going to have to do FOIL. Yes, today's been a fun day with FOIL, hasn't it? All right, so let's do FOIL. X times x is, and then outside, so x times negative 8. Inside, negative 8 times x. And last, negative 8 times negative 8. And then we're going to combine like terms. The 8s don't cancel. Why not? They have the same sign, okay? It's only when they have the same number but opposite signs are going to cancel. So what's negative 8 minus 8? Negative 16x. And then we have plus 64. So remember, we've got the equal sign. We want to solve. We want to get x by itself. But what do we do when we have an x squared and an x? When we have the squared and a non-squared? We're going to have to factor. In order to factor, it has to be set equal to 0. So which side do you want to move? The 4x. So line it up with this like term. So 0 equals x squared. Good. Minus 20x. And then good. Plus 64. So let's see if we can factor this. Simple trinomial. Oh, I guess I should have asked. Does it have any greatest common factors? No. How many terms? 3. Simple or alien? Simple, because it's got the 1 in front of the x squared. So we just set up our parentheses. We know x squared has to be x and x. And we're looking for 2 numbers that do what?
64.
Multiply to 64 and what is that sign? Add to 20. So multiply to 64. Add to 20. Oh, there it is, right? 4 times 16. Bigger number first. Bring down the first sign. Negative 16 times what kind of 4 will give me the positive 64? Good. This was not an alien. There's no person to bring back. So what do we do now? Yeah, set them both equal to 0. So x minus 16 equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. Add the 16. On the other one, we're going to add the 4. But there's an extra step we have to do on this one we didn't have to do on the other one. Do you remember what it is? When it has a square root, what do we have to do to our answers? We have to check the answers, okay, when we're dealing with the radical. Because sometimes, because we square it, Sometimes they give us those solutions that work for the squared part, but they don't actually work for the original. So we are going to have to go back and check our answers. So let's check when x is 16. So use your original equation. So 2 square root of x equals x minus 8. Plug 16 in. Remember with the check, you work one side completely and you work the other side completely. You don't move things around. You don't square both sides. You work one side, you work the other side, and you compare your answers. So let's do the square root first. I'm working on the left. So I have 2 times, what's the square root of 16? And what is 2 times 4? 8. And on the other side, now let's go over to it. So I have 16 minus 8, which is 16 minus 8, which is? 8. Good. And so 8 does equal 8, right? So 16 is definitely a solution. Then we have to check 4. Same thing, use your original problem. Let's plug in your 4. So we have 2 times, what's the square root of 4? And 2 times 2 is? 4. So let's work the other side. What's 4 minus 8?
Negative 4.
Is 4 equal to negative 4? No. So that means that 4 is not a solution. It was an extraneous solution. It worked for the squared part, but it doesn't actually work in the original. So our only answer there is 16.